find out what's brewing, it's fresh and it's bold. XCH.Coffee, let the stories unfold. Morning buzz hits hard, keeps you controlled. On the Chia wave, riding like gold.
You know, it's wild. Some people just seem to have this knack for seeing what's next in tech. You know, it's like they have some kind of sixth sense. Gene Hoffman, he's one of those people.
It's true, but it's more than just instinct or luck, right? If you really dig into Hoffman's career, you start to see a pattern. He's got this amazing ability to spot these emerging needs in the digital world, things that most of us don't even realize are problems yet.
Okay, so what's the secret sauce? How's he so good at seeing around corners, especially back when the internet was practically still in its infancy?
I think a big part of it is his really deep understanding of the human side of technology. Like, how do people actually use this stuff? What are the unintended consequences? Take his first big success, internet fast forward. He wasn't just building an ad blocker. He was predicting the whole future of the internet. He saw that advertising would become this dominant force, but also that it could have a dark side, you know, eroding privacy and user control. And keep in mind, this was the mid-90s. We're talking dial-up modems and those god-awful blinking banner ads.
Yeah, but we all saw those ads. I mean, Hoffman was one of the few who actually saw a problem that needed fixing, a way to, like, put users back in the driver's seat.
Exactly. And his solution, it wasn't just technical, it was philosophical. He understood the internet's potential to empower individuals, not just corporations. And that's a thread that runs through his entire career.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he was some tech industry insider either. He was a student at UNC Chapel Hill, for goodness sake. Suddenly, this guy is fielding calls from CNBC. He's being interviewed by the New York Times. Can you imagine what his basketball coach must have thought? Like, wait a minute, does this kid have a side hustle as a tech guru?
Right. Talk about March Madness. He's going head-to-head with these internet giants, basically telling them, you know, users deserve a choice. Can you imagine those conversations in the boardrooms at Yahoo? And they were banking on ad revenue, and here comes this college student saying, hold on a second.
It's incredible. And that entrepreneurial spirit, it didn't stop with ad blocking. And this is just the beginning for him.
Oh, yeah, this is like his origin story. You know, he gets a taste for challenging the system, for building tech that actually empowers people, and it just snowballs from there.
And this next step, it's where things get really interesting. They go from blocking ads to tackling, wait for it, encryption.
PGP. Pretty good privacy.
You know your acronyms. But seriously, for anyone who wasn't a cryptography enthusiast back then.
Like me. Total cryptography nerd. Still am, actually.
Right. So back then, sending an email, basically like sending a postcard. Anyone could read it along the way. PGP was revolutionary because it let you encrypt those messages, scramble them up so only the person with the right key could unlock them.
It was like giving regular people superpowers. The ability to actually communicate privately online. And Hoffman's team, they built this directly into Netscape Mail.
Which, let's be real, was the email program back then.
The OG.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about some little add-on here. They're baking industrial strength encryption into the most popular way people are communicating online.
Bold move.
Very bold. And it gets noticed by PGP Inc. themselves, actually.
Who, if I remember correctly, end up acquiring Hoffman's company.
Ding, ding, ding. Acquired while still in college. I mean, talk about a resume builder. Now we're talking about something with some serious weight behind it, even back then. Wasn't that at the heart of a huge fight over digital privacy?
Exactly. We're talking the Wild West of the internet.
Right.
Encryption was considered a national security threat by the U.S. government. Exporting it was treated like shipping weapons, literally.
So what did Hoffman get himself into by messing with PGP? Did the feds come knocking down his door?
Actually, yes, but not quite how you'd picture it. It was about to get much more interesting. Hoffman and the team at PGP Inc., they knew they had to challenge these export restrictions. They believed so strongly in the right to privacy that they were willing to take on the U.S. government to protect it. So you've got the U.S. government essentially saying, you know, this encryption stuff, it's too dangerous for anyone outside the U.S. to have. And you've got Hoffman and the cypherpunks, these early digital privacy activists saying privacy is a fundamental right and we're not backing down.
Talk about a standoff.
Yeah.
So how do you even begin to challenge something like that? Do they hire like a bunch of lawyers, file lawsuits?
They did have a crack a legal team, but their masterstroke was far more audacious. Remember, the government's argument hinged on encryption software being treated like like a munition.
Right, like exporting weapons.
Exactly. But books.
Yeah.
Books are protected under the First Amendment, freedom of speech.
Right.
So Hoffman, along with PGP's team, they hatched this incredibly risky but brilliant plan. They printed the entire source code for PGP, all thousands of pages of it, and bound it into books.
Wait, they printed out the entire source code? Like on paper? Who does that?
It sounds crazy, right? But their argument was simple, yet powerful. If code is speech, and you can't restrict the distribution of books, then you can't restrict the distribution of code printed in a book.
Wow.
It was a direct challenge to the government's authority, and it put them in a very awkward position.
That is some next-level legal maneuvering. So, did it work?
It did. Hoffman literally walked into a cypherpunk meeting with a box full of these PGP code books, like something out of a spy movie, and said, someone get this out of the country.
He wasn't even trying to be subtle about it.
Not at all. And you know what? It worked. The books made their way overseas, and the U.S. government was left grappling with the reality that they'd been outmaneuvered by, a bunch of guys with a printing press and a deep belief in digital privacy.
This is incredible. What was the fallout from all this? Did the government come after Hoffman?
They did. He became, as he put it, the second person ever to be investigated for illegally exporting strong cryptography.
Oh, wow.
The first, probably Hal Finney.
Wait, seriously? Hal Finney, the Bitcoin pioneer, he was involved in this too.
Small world, right?
Yeah.
Hoffman and Finney actually worked together at PGP Inc.
Wow.
But getting back to the investigation, the feds eventually had to back down.
Yeah.
They couldn't very well prosecute someone for shipping a book, even if that book contained code they didn't like.
Right. So Hoffman essentially forced the government's hand, made them confront the absurdity of their own regulations in the digital age.
Precisely. It was a huge win for free speech and helped pave the way for the secure internet we rely on today. And it speaks volumes about Hoffman's character. He could have played it safe.
Yeah.
But he chose to fight for what he believed in, even when it meant taking on the most powerful government in the world.
It takes a certain kind of person to do that, to risk their own freedom for a principle.
Absolutely. And that unwavering belief in the power of technology to empower individuals, that's a recurring theme throughout Hoffman's career. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about his next move, which takes us right into the heart of the dot-com boom and the birth of digital music as we know it.
Okay, so from fighting the feds to rocking out with digital tunes, it seems like there's never a dull moment with this guy.
You got that right. Buckle up, because things are about to get interesting.
We'll be right back.
Wake up to a brand new day. Find out what's brewing in a special way. On the Chia blockchain, news pour fast. Grab your coffee, let's make it last. XCH.Coffee starts the morning.
Okay, so we're talking 1998. The dot-com boom is in full swing. Everyone's throwing money at anything with a .com at the end of it. And Gene Hoffman decides to jump into the world of digital music, e-music.
Right.
What was it about that space that caught his eye?
Well, remember, this was a time when the music industry was grappling with the very idea of digital distribution.
Right.
Napster was still a couple of years away, but the writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
Hoffman saw an opportunity to build a legitimate, user-friendly platform for, buying and downloading digital music, something that would benefit both artists and consumers.
He was essentially trying to build iTunes before iTunes even existed.
Exactly. And he was met with a lot of resistance from the music industry, many of whom saw digital music as like a threat, not an opportunity.
So did e-music face similar challenges to, like, early iTunes? I remember all those stories about record labels being hesitant to sign on, worried about piracy.
Absolutely. Hoffman was trying to convince a very entrenched industry to embrace a radical new way of doing business.
Wow.
He was pushing for things like DRM-free music, which was unheard of at the time because he understood that users wanted flexibility and ease of use.
And that focus on user experience, that seems to be a recurring theme with Hoffman. Ad blocking to encryption to now digital music. He's always fighting for the end user.
Exactly. He has a knack for anticipating what users will want, sometimes even before they know it themselves.
Right.
And that's a powerful skill for an entrepreneur to have. But getting back to e-music, despite its early success and Hoffman's vision, the company wasn't immune to the dot-com bubble burst.
Right, the bubble burst. What happened to e-music when the music stopped, so to speak?
Well, they'd gone public at the height of the boom, even acquired RollingStone.com. But when the market crashed, they had to adapt.
So they did have a viable business model. They were generating revenue, but they still got caught in the crossfire.
In a way, yes. But here's the important distinction. They didn't go under.
Okay.
They restructured, refocused, and in 2001 were acquired by Vivendi Universal.
Another successful exit for Hoffman. It's interesting, though. This wasn't a case of, cashing in and walking away. This was about finding a way for his vision to survive, even in a tumultuous market.
And that brings us to Vindicia, which Hoffman started after eMusic. This venture really highlights his ability to not just ride the wave of technological change, but to look for the problems those changes create and then solve them.
Okay, so what was the problem Vindicia was tackling?
Subscription payments?
Oh, right.
After running eMusic, Hoffman had seen firsthand how clunky and user-unfriendly the systems for, managing online subscriptions were.
Right.
Recurring billing was a nightmare for both businesses and consumers.
Oh, man. Don't even get me started on recurring billing. It's like those systems were designed to be as frustrating as possible.
Exactly. And Hoffman saw that frustration as an opportunity. Vindici was all about building a better infrastructure for managing subscriptions.
Right.
One that was secure, reliable, and actually pleasant to use.
And this wasn't another fly-by-night.com gamble. Vindicia was in it for the long haul, right?
Absolutely. This is a classic, subscription software company.
Right.
And Hoffman spent over a decade building it into a powerhouse. By the time they were acquired by Amdocs in 2016 for over $100 million, they were powering the subscription services for, everyone from the NFL to Dollar Shave Club.
Wow. Talk about a diverse portfolio of clients.
That's Hoffman for you.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to dive into the nitty-gritty details of how things work and find ways to make them work better. He's not just a big picture guy. He's also a builder, a problem solver.
Okay, so we've got 3 successful companies, multiple exits, millions of dollars. You'd think at this point most people would be ready to, call it a day, maybe buy an island somewhere.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But remember that early idea he had for a cryptocurrency? The one his wife wisely advised against.
Oh, right. The one that might have involved armed guards on a remote island. What was it about that idea that stuck with him all those years?
I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. His belief in the power of technology to empower individuals. And with blockchain, he saw a way to build systems that were decentralized, transparent, and secure. Systems that could potentially upend traditional power structures.
And that brings us to Chia Network, right?
Exactly.
The company founded by Bram Cohen, the creator of BitTorrent. What was it about Chia that drew Hoffman in?
Chia was different. It wasn't just another cryptocurrency trying to be the next Bitcoin. They were building a blockchain that was more sustainable, more energy efficient, and more focused on real-world use cases.
Okay, so greener, potentially more democratic. But what's Chia actually used for? I mean, I know they've done stuff with the World Bank, even carbon markets, right?
That's where things get really exciting. See, carbon credits, all that huge trust issue. How do you track emissions accurately? How do you prevent fraud?
It's a mess.
That's putting it mildly. But imagine a blockchain, right? Where every carbon credit, every transaction is recorded, immutable, transparent.
So instead of relying on self-reporting and hoping for the best,
you have a system that's auditable, accountable.
Could be huge for actually tackling climate change, not just talking about it.
Exactly. And it goes beyond carbon. Supply chains, digital identity, anything where trust and transparency are essential. But they're also realistic, about the regulatory hurdles.
Because crypto hasn't always played nice with the regulators, let's be honest.
Right. But this is where Hoffman's experience, all the way back to PGP, comes in. Chia's not trying to burn the system down. They're working within it, building bridges.
Regulatory hacking, you called it.
Exactly. For Chia, it's not just about checking boxes. It's about building trust with regulators, with users. They get that for this to work, it has to be integrated, not isolated.
Smart. But they're also thinking about us, the users, right? Because crypto, let's be real, it can be intimidating.
Oh, absolutely. So they're working on stuff like the iOS signer.
Right.
Makes managing your crypto keys way easier.
So less chance of losing all your crypto because you forgot your password.
Exactly. And vaults, too. Think of them like digital safety deposit boxes for your crypto. Secure, but user-friendly.
So less about, tech hurdles and more about actually using this stuff.
Making these tools accessible to everyone, that's the goal.
Which brings us full circle. back to empowerment through technology. It's like this thread through Hoffman's entire career.
Yeah.
From ad blockers to encryption to blockchain.
It's about building a better digital future, one where technology empowers individuals, not just, extracts value from them.
It's a powerful message. And his story, it's inspiring. It shows that you can challenge the status quo, that you can actually build something better.
And that's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explore the incredible journey of Gene Hoffman, a true pioneer of the digital age.